Welcome to Athletes to Entrepreneurs, the Alumni Journey. I'm Rob Finkelstein, founder of Alumni Direct, and we've created the premier platform to help alumni connect worldwide and spark connectivity within their affinity groups. And we're so excited to have different areas, whether it be colleges, whether it be athletes, whether it be fraternal organizations, business alumni associations, and we're trying to create content to help everybody out. And this show, Athletes to Entrepreneurs, is something where we want to work together with athletes and we want to teach and inspire that there is life after sports. And we're so excited today to have Marques Ogden on with us. And Marques, he went to Howard University, played football there, then went on to the NFL, had a great career. And now he's working in the business world. He's a keynote speaker. And one thing he told me about is he is a all-star podcaster, which, it's tough for me because here I got Marques on and I'm, this whole thing with podcasting. So he's going to teach me a few things, but how you doing today, Marques?
I'm doing well, Rob. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Thanks. And thanks for joining on Valentine's Day. I want to say that Marques was nice enough to join us because he said that in a little bit, he'll have a nice evening with his wife. So thank you again for that.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on and I look forward to chatting. I look forward to it, man.
Yeah, well, good deal. So this is, I try to make this a lot of fun. And one thing that, I always start out is kind of take me through playing sports as a kid. Like, everybody plays sports as a kid. Take me through that journey from, playing as a kid to going to high school and ultimately college.
So honestly, I didn't play football until I was a freshman in high school. Like I was too big to play Pop Warner. I played in some scrimmages, stuff like that, Boys and Girls Club, fun, all that kind of stuff. But, I was too big to play. And back then they didn't have like these weight limit or this overweight limit leagues we could play a certain size and play. So played as a freshman in high school. I really wasn't that good to begin with, honest with you, my first couple of years playing football. Sophomore year got a little bit better. Junior year struggled a little bit still. Senior year came into my own as an O-line, D lineman. Did good enough to get a full scholarship to play football at Howard University. Again, struggled as a redshirt freshman immensely, with the speed of the game and getting adjusted to grown men, and then ended up starting as a redshirt freshman and had some struggles then and was pulled from games and started games and then pulled out and benched and all this other stuff. Then my last 3 years at Howard were really, really solid. I would say a three-time All-Conference, two-time All-American. And the game really taught me a lot, Rob, about ups and downs and how to deal with, having a strong mindset and how to deal with that. Because really and truly, Rob, it's like, just like in life, you're going to have ebbs and flows, ups and downs. I love this podcast when it talks about, alumni base and creating that support group, because that's really what life's all about. Like, it's not who you know, Rob. It's who knows you and who will vouch for you. And alumni should try to support each other to the best of our abilities to help us move the needle, to help us in our everyday life.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, you brought up some good points, and it's nice to hear too that it's the hard work and effort that did it for you. And that's, I think a lot of athletes strive to do. And I think there's kind of that fraternity, because most athletes, I would say, you said you started in high school, but you probably missed out on some things with the dedication to sports and just all the practice and the blood, sweat, and tears. So when you went to Howard, what does Howard kind of work with athletes to help them to kind of cater them to that, ultimately to become an alumni? And then, if there is, again, life after sports, obviously at some point, do they work with the athletes there and help them out with that?
Great question, Rob. There's a strong alumni base at Howard, without a doubt. It's considered the mecca of HBCUs, historical Black colleges and universities. It's just a pillar. And when I went to school there, back in those days, Rob, we had shows on like The Cosby Show, Different World, Martin, Living Single. A lot of TV kind of pushed the narrative of Howard University. So, which was amazing for me being at the university as a star football player at that time, which was phenomenal. But as far as when it comes to athletes and after, that's a really good question. I know they were doing some things with like some alumni groups, but it's very, very small compared to like the regular student body groups, and especially also with like fraternities. A lot of fraternities at Howard do a really nice job of having strong alumni groups when people leave college. So on the athlete side, I know it's gotten better, but I don't know if it's ever caught up to, Rob, on the regular student body side, that type of alumni support and that type of networking at the highest level.
Yeah, and that's something, we're trying to do that. I think a lot of, when you talk about networking, connecting, there's a lot of struggles when, I think if you're an athlete, you're in a fraternity or sorority, which you mentioned, if you went to an Ivy League school, there's they do a good job, but I think a lot of people out there just don't know how to do that. And I think one of the things we've talked about too, is we've talked to some different, some former athletes, and they've talked about going back to their schools kind of in a mentoring type role and teaching the athletes, kind of how to conduct themselves. And I'm sure, nowadays with social media, when you were playing and back when I went to school too, there wasn't a lot of social media to speak of. So what kinds of things, maybe some advice that you would give to some of the student athletes now in how to handle themselves going forward?
So what they need to do is they need to really focus on professional and personal development and find a mentor, somebody, a coach, a player that's graduated, an alumni, someone close in your family, somebody that you trust to help you prepare for that transition for being a student athlete to graduating your college and going into the workforce. Because let's face it, Rob, the majority of student athletes playing college sports are going to be finished playing their sport when they leave. Like, that's just the numbers. That's just the odds. So you need to prepare for it. Prepare with hard work, dedication, and fortitude. I have a saying for the success cycle: it's ambition, create your blueprint, drive, be inspired over motivated, hard work, focus on yourself, not the competition. So these young student athletes, Rob, need to really start getting some coaching, taking some classes, not just on the school side, what we call the hard skills, right? Do some soft skills, education, networking, professional development, courtesy, how to interact with people, how to conduct business meetings, how to follow up, how to, if you go to lunch with somebody from network, who should pay, all these different things that I call the soft skills need to really be worked on by all student athletes. So when they leave their universities, they're prepared to go into the workforce and hit the ground running.
Right. That's great advice. And I think, that's one of the things that guy I mentioned was trying to do. And I think we want to try to help that as well. I think as we, go into these different college markets, and with the help of alumni, obviously, because that's what this is all about, is getting into that mentoring role and helping to teach them. That's kind of the focus of the show. Now, another thing that's been kind of interesting that's come up is this whole where the athletes now can promote themselves. I think it was an NIL where now the current college athletes, although they can't use the university brand or logo, they can promote themselves. What's your thoughts on that? And I'll share some of the things that we're trying to do with that as well.
I think it's really great for athletes to start making money off their name, because universities have been doing it for decades and years. And, that's just not a problem to me. The problem I have is these athletes need to be properly trained, instructed on how to handle that money, because they're going to get taxed like anybody else. They're going to have implications as far as, what they're going to have to put aside, or if they're in a certain area, or, again, tax laws, different states, all those things. So I think it's great, but also I feel if the athlete is not educated and or prepared to handle that influx of cash or money and doesn't know about, taxes or how to prepare for, putting things aside, investments, savings, you're really risking these athletes coming out of college, in debt to the IRS or things like that. So I feel it's a great opportunity, but please educate these young athletes, men and women, so they understand the ramifications of what they could owe on the money that they're receiving. Because again, as you know, Rob, and I know, nothing is for free.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think that's a good point, is that we need to, as we're creating programs to do that. Because one of the things that we're creating what's called Athlete Corner. And the idea is for us on the site in these community centers. Every school has their own community center. So let's say, for example, Howard's Community Center, there'd be a platform where that student athlete can promote themselves. And a lot of times, I went to University of Delaware, so same kind of thing. I think if, obviously if you went to Alabama, Georgia, Georgia Tech, Florida State, Florida, a lot of the big schools, Michigan, Notre Dame, people know the names of athletes. But when you get into some of these other schools, they might not know as much, but the alumni do. So I think it's a place where they can definitely promote their brand. However, to your point, if they start doing really well with it, they also need to manage it, properly. And that definitely, I would say to have different types of webinars on that would be good. So now, take me through a little bit. So once you were done with football, and this is kind of what you kind of alluded to before and gave some great advice, but what kinds of things do you think that you would tell athletes how to, you've had this camaraderie your whole life, you're around the team. I mean, and you hear a lot of stories about athletes, and it just, unfortunately, when the game is done, a lot of them might not know what to do with themselves. So take us through your journey of, what you're doing today, but how you got from, professional football to that, and then maybe some lessons that other athletes can take from that.
So I'm now a national, international keynote speaker, executive coach, 3-time best-selling author, podcast co-host, brand ambassador, and work with many different brands as a part owner, or things of that nature. And it's really exciting. But I would say that I literally got here, through the failures I had in my first business, which was a construction company. I hit complete rock bottom, filed a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, lost all of my money, lost my home, lost my cars, lost everything. Moved to Raleigh with $400 to my name. I had no access to finances. I had no credit. It was just complete rock bottom. And then I ended up having that rock bottom moment as a custodian when somebody's trash and it was someone's, rotten meat and nasty protruding garbage cover my body, my skin, and my clothes. And that was my wake-up call. And that launched me getting into speaking. Started speaking September 2013. Took me 2.5 years to get my first paid speaking job. And now today, after being coached and being learned how to develop myself and really learning from experts and other people who had a lot more knowledge than me, I've crafted this business with my amazing team. And our brand now has worked for 35 Fortune 500 brands as a speaker in the last 6 years.
Wow.
And, we do consulting and coaching and this and that. And again, sports taught me a lot about discipline, taught me a lot about never giving up, taught me a lot about grit, and all those things that I need to really learn how to do and position myself to do. That's what sports taught me. And as a result of that, that's how I got from, being where I was as a struggling speaker to now where we are as a successful speaker on many levels. I'll be traveling this week to Washington, North Carolina on Wednesday for a job, and I fly out to San Diego on Thursday to speak for the largest finance-based state-run conference in California. It's called the California Society of Municipal Finance Officers. I'm their closing keynote speaker. Really excited about that. One of my clients is coming up. She's in the California area. Will be coming not for about an hour and a half to San Diego. So she'll be meeting me there just to meet me in person. She's awesome. Excited about the opportunity to work with us at a great, overall, conference and organization. And next week, I'll be in Austin, Texas. I'm the opening keynote speaker for the Maple Flooring Manufacturer Association, which is the oldest flooring manufacturer association in the country. It was formed in 1897 in Chicago. So I'm their opening keynote speaker in Austin. Really excited about that. So, our brand has really worked hard. We have some amazing people on this team, and everybody understands where we're trying to go. Everybody's part of the process, and everybody is treated as equal. This is not my company. It's not my say. It's a we. And that's what I learned in teams and playing sports. And if I would have just kept that mentality with Caden, would I be $100 million a year company? Maybe. Don't know. because, I didn't really like construction to begin with. I was just good at, closing deals. So I don't know if that would have ever taken me to the full heights of what I do in my, of course, we made a lot of money at it, but,
Sure.
What I do today is much more fulfilling. And it's like my calling, where construction was the way I made money. This is my passion. And so, again, I really see the long haul and the overall trajectory. And I feel I try to live by the law of influence. When you try to abundantly help others and put their best interest or their interest before yourself, you influence people. So that's the law, one of the laws I try to live by. Also, the law of value, where you give more value than you take in payment. And living by those two laws and a couple other ones has really helped serve our brand in a major way. So that's how I try to live my life. And again, sports taught me a lot about discipline and, how to really apply what I learned as far as, teamwork and adapting and pivoting into that process.
Right. That's awesome. I love hearing that, because that's what I'm all about too. It's all about paying it forward and helping people. And so whatever we can do in that process is great. So one other question related to alumni. And so, as a, so you're obviously you're a college alumni, you're an alumni from sports. Is there much interaction from the sports side, and do you leverage that networking amongst whether it be other people that were other former athletes from, let's say, Howard, or just even throughout, whether it be former NFL players or even across sports, with whether it be it could be a swimmer, a golfer, a Major League Baseball player? Do you leverage those alumni relationships?
Yes, great question. The answer is yes. And we leverage them a lot more today through our podcast. We've had on some amazing past guests, people like Willie Parker, two-time Super Bowl champion, the longest run in Super Bowl history. We've got on there like Johnny Gomes, two-time World Series baseball champion. We've interviewed Broadway Joe Namath, Ricky Williams, Jermichael Finley, Leon Searcy, Jeff Garcia, all these great people. And we really leaned on that to get some of these phenomenal athletes to come and share their stories, share their trials, tribulations, what they've gone through, in order to help our audience with whatever challenges or pain points they might be going through at that time. And as a result of that, we've really done some great things as far as some great guests. Our show has been fast-paced growing globally. And we're just really excited because we're able to serve two ends of the spectrum: the athletes who love to talk about themselves and their stories to help others succeed. And then, of course, the listeners who can use that information, those stories, and that knowledge to help them really keep going and go down that trajectory to the path of what I call their targeted finish line and or beyond.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful. I mean, it's kind of cool. I guess that's the fun part for you. Well, I mean, I'm sure the speaking is as well, but you can tell by the podcasting, I guess it's a new phenomenon, just everybody getting involved in different things. So that's kind of cool. And then, so these people on the show are just people that you've reached out to that, like you said, just have different stories.
Correct. And it's so many different people: professional athletes, current athletes, retired athletes, business owners, executives, corporate, business owners, all types. We had reality stars on there. It doesn't matter. We interviewed today former professional baseball player Kevin Gibbs, who played for the LA Dodgers, Red Sox, and the Yankees. The only underlining foundational theme we have: we interview amazing people with amazing stories. That's it.
That's great. Good deal. Trying to think of it. So if tell people where they can find you, like just as far as your keynote speaking, as far as the podcast, kind of give the address and all that, best ways to reach you.
Sure. They can go to our website, www.marques, MARQUES, Ogden, OGDEN.com. And you can shoot me an email at marques@marquesogden.com and get in touch with us. Reach out to us. We're always up for conversation. We're always up to have dialogue. We like to talk to phenomenal people who are trying to elevate in their life.
That's great. And everybody, I highly encourage it. And here at Alumni Direct, we're going to continue. You can find us on Alumni Direct alumnidirect.com. And we're going to keep putting the shows out like this, continue to have all types of athletes, doesn't matter what sport, but we really want to, as I mentioned in the beginning, teach and inspire athletes that there is, things that they can do after their sports careers. And Marques is a great example of that. So look out for the various shows, look out for other content, and we look forward to the future. And Marques, again, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on, Rob. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.